I flip on the tape. I'm like, dude, Chris Olave balls out. Rashid Shaheed is on the rise. Like, A.T. Perry is my freaking dude. And then, like, Lattimore's still awesome. They got Honey Badger up there in the secondary. Demario Davis covers up so much. Paulson Adebo started to look really nice down the stretch.
Cam Jordan's still playing very high level football.
Yeah, he's still fine. Like, he's still good. But then I see Derek Carr in this offensive line, and I'm like, ugh.
You need to be more like a dog. We don't need a bunch of cats in here. Yeah, looking in the mirror. Do I look good? I got my extra bands on. I got my other shoes on. We need more dogs.
Yeah, so, I mean, I want to like Derek Carr. Is that bad to say? I want to like Derek Carr.
Dude, look at those final, like, 5, 6, 7 games of the year last year. He was, like, kind of killing it. But, like...
How could you not?
But I just still... like, the first 5 games of the year, he was freaking awful.
It's kind of crazy.
6 games.
It's kind of crazy to think that this team could be a dark horse in this division. When you think about the Saints and think about the success,
I mean, there's a world where
they had the success they had for so long with Drew Brees and Sean Payton and all of that. To think about them as a dark horse, but now it's like, oh, you have Derek Carr, different regime running the show. But then everything you just said with the playmakers they have on this team, I think they have a legitimate chance to really, really make some noise down south.
Like, I do too, and then I don't, and then I'm just, someone needs to stink in the NFL this year. Like, teams need to be bad. And where I keep coming down to when I'm looking at the schedule for the entire NFL, I'm like, this team has risk written all over it. And usually those are the teams that end up being bad.
Yes. So starting out with the running back room, Alvin Kamara is not what he used to be. I loved Kendre Miller coming out last year. I didn't think he got the opportunities that he needed. Jamal Williams was a touchdown machine once upon a time, but you can only be a touchdown machine given the opportunities and what he brings to the table compared to other guys on the roster. I don't love him.
Well, and I do think Kamara, like, I think he's getting overlooked a little too much. On tape, he's still got some bursts. He's still got some wiggle, and there's still something there. He's getting old, but I think he's getting overly sold. He is getting oversold right now, and he's not what he was, but he's still pretty darn good.
Yeah, and I think Kendre Miller definitely has a chance to break out here. I didn't even realize James Robinson was on this roster, to be honest. But there's a lot to like about this running back room if they can figure it out. If Alvin Kamara can give you that burst, if Jamal Williams can be a short down back, and Kendre Miller can start coming on as a true benefit to the offense where you can give him legitimate, meaningful carries and kind of keep the carries off Kamara early in the season, stuff like that. I think that can be a huge, huge help to get that running game going. But you look at this wide receiver room, man. Chris Olave is so damn good.
Yeah, like, I don't even think this is like a great, like, I like Shaheed a lot, but like, I think that he's kind of typecast in a role. I just love Chris Olave and A.T. Perry. Like, I'm way over betting on A.T. Perry, but like,
yeah. And they have Equanimous St. Brown, Bears legend.
Yeah. Fastest curl route in the league.
But yeah, a lot to like here. And then Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill at the tight end room. That
I have to say
might be one of the better tight end rooms in the league.
Taysom Hill still balls.
Oh,
he makes some disgusting plays at times.
It's a shame that Taysom Hill was born when he was born, because if Taysom Hill played in the 70s or 80s. I mean, we might talk about Taysom Hill as the greatest football player of all time. And when you just break down just the definition of football player and not typecasted into a position, Taysom Hill is the most football-playing football player probably in the league.
It's up there.
I just want to see him get some reps at edge rusher, and that'll complete it for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd love to see that. All right, let's move it on over to the O-line. Like, Ramczyk was the stalwart of this unit. He's not playing this year. I guess it's still, I can't, like, every time I hear about it on a podcast or anything, it always ends up with a question mark at the end. So, like, I still don't really know, but I think I know that he's not playing. Even know what's going on there, if I'm being honest. It seems to be shrouded in mystery. But
is there still hope for Trevor Penning?
I want to think so. Like, so truly, I seem to be the only person who thinks this from everything I've heard. But I saw some impressive moments from him last year of, like, okay, there might be growth here, but he is in a state with his career where the only way he is going to get better is by playing football, and he hasn't played a lot of football in his first 2 years. So, like, it's this breaking point of he's just not going to be good unless he can play.
Yeah, so Trevor Penning, it's one of those. I mean, you invest a lot in him, and assuming Ramczyk's out, like, he's got to show something this year. He's got to get it done this year.
Well, yeah, and I mean, across from him, Talisi Fuaga, like, there's stuff.
I like him.
I liked him as a guard more than a tackle, though, and now he's suddenly your left tackle. He played right tackle at Oregon State. Like, my main hesitation for this team is the offensive line. Line and defensive line, but more the offensive line than anything. And, I mean, on the interior, I do feel like you have two pretty dang good football players in Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz. Cesar Ruiz is probably going to be a free agent after this year. It seems like I don't know if they can finagle the cap to keep him around, but you feel good about those two players. The other guard spot, I mean, you have Nick Saldiveri, who hasn't played much, was an okay prospect in my opinion. And then you got Shane Lemieux and Lucas Patrick, who you don't buy into the numbers there. You do not want Lucas Patrick playing for your football team. Like, he's a fine rotational backup, or not even rotational, but depth piece. But, like, hope Nick Saldiveri is good enough to keep Lucas Patrick off the field, because he was not good for the Bears the last few years. And I just see potential for problems all over this offensive line. I mean, there is a world where Trevor Penning hits that third-year stride and Talisi Fuaga comes in and is a solid left tackle for you. Then suddenly this offensive line starts to look good. But that's not something I'd bet on, because rookie offensive tackles tend to not be actually good. They can be good for rookies, but they tend to not be good. And all the signs so far tell us that Trevor Penning is not going to be it in this league. Like, there's a chance, but I wouldn't be wagering on it. So this offense leaves me with all sorts of questions.
Yeah, it's definitely a cause for concern for sure. And yeah, when you just look at the offense in a whole, it's hard to just really just fall in love with this team.
If you took Chris Olave off this team, I would be much lower on them. Let me put it that way. Like, I love Chris Olave. I love what I've seen from him. But if you took him away from this roster, I would be very worried about this offense.
Yeah. So, going to the defensive line, it's weird that Chase Young signed here, right? I feel like Chase Young is going the same route as Jadeveon Clowney. Just signing short-term deals, trying to make the most money you can. But Clowney is at least somewhat.
Yeah, Clowney's never been bad. That's the thing. Like, Clowney might have never been number one pick good, but he was never bad.
Well, my thing is the way Clowney picks the teams that he signs with. as like he's getting the most money he can in a short amount of time, never committing long term, but always like there's a chance we can win a Super Bowl. With Chase Young, it's like, was it? It might have just been for the money, and like I'll say it time and time again, I'll never disparage anybody from making their money, absolutely. But when you look at some of the other competitors in the league, it's like, could you have not gotten a similar contract from a real competitor? You know,
I think there are real questions about Chase Young and his commitment to playing football that keep a lot of teams away from him.
Well, do you know the contract that he signed, or even close to it? You don't. If you don't, it's fine.
I don't. But I can pull it up here in a bit. And Jameis is with the Browns.
Oh yeah, we definitely talked about that. I remember it now. Yeah. So, but outside of Chase Young, Carl Granderson, Cam Jordan, Isaiah Fowski, Nafai Sewell, and Peyton Turner in this edge room.
So I like Granderson is a good football player.
Yeah,
he's not a marquee rusher, but he's a good football player. Cameron Jordan, he's not nowhere close to what he used to be, but he's still a serviceable starter, good leadership, all that good
for
stuff.
Life.
And I liked Isaiah Fosky a lot in last year's draft. I believe he was playing through multiple injuries as a rookie, and that really limited his ability to see the field even. But I'm hoping you can see a bump from him this year. You know, I'm starting to talk myself into this edge room a little bit as like a possibility. I still don't think they're taking over games, but I can see how they have strength in numbers. I worry about the interior though. These guys got after the passer okay. I'm not sure they can stop the run. I really don't think they can stop the run with the interior. So then you're putting a lot of pressure on your edges and your linebackers to do it, which can work. But Bryan Bresee drives me a little nuts.
I was about to say Bryan Bresee's got to be better.
I don't know if he will be. Like, all his production that I saw comes on stunts where he has an open free runner because he's running. And there's skill to that. There's athletic ability that he has that allows him to be used that way. But in moments where I need a bucket, I don't think Bryan Bresee can get me that.
When you need that anchor, when you need that anchor in the interior, he's not there.
Yeah, he gets blown up in the run game, and I mean, maybe he added mass or something to help with that. But like, I saw an interview with him, and I just remember thinking, and this will probably get hate in the comments, but I remember thinking, he does not look like a guy going into year 2 who just spent the offseason getting bigger and working on, like, really putting the work in. He looked like the same guy that he was the year before, which he's 6'6". Maybe it's hard for him to look like he's added mass, but like, I don't know. I just remember feeling like, and it's a bad thing to base anything on, right? How a guy looked in a press conference. But like, I just remember thinking he didn't look like the Bears' Gervon Dexter. Looks like a completely different person coming into year 2. And I have that expectation of guys going into their second year that they have molded their body to the NFL. And I didn't feel like I saw that with Bresee.
Yeah, and it just goes more to the, you want to kind of like this team, but the more you look into it, the more you're just like, this is a powder keg waiting to burst.
Yeah, I feel like they're like purgatory, but like they're also one bad thing away from being bad.
Are they still in Cap Hill, or do they just live in Cap Hill?
Yeah, they're perpetually in it until their GM just goes away.
Are they in it? Are they the Chicago Bulls of the NFL?
Maybe.
In the sense that they're not really a contender, but they do just enough to give their fans hope. Like, hey, we might make the dance. Oh, it's the last week of the season. We're still competitive, but they're never really competing for a championship.
Yeah, I think that's
But they refuse to be bad.
Yeah.
and they refuse to be bad to the point to where they will mortgage their entire future of ever even possibly being good just to not be bad.
Yeah, no, I see it. I think that's where this team is kind of living right now. In the linebacker room, Demario Davis covers up a lot in this. That dude is so good. Demario Davis is he might be the second best linebacker in the NFL after Fred Warner. Like, and he's getting up there in age, and he's still just like crushing it. Yeah. He's so good. Like in coverage, he is always getting his hand on the football, finding ways to make
Defense
plays.
Player of the Year.
No, he's a linebacker. We've been through this. The linebackers aren't going to get a chance at it anymore now. But in run defense, he can stack and shed. He's a monster. He's so good. They added Willie Gay to the room, who's a solid football player. They have Pete Werner there, really who's still okay. Like Pete Werner's, I don't want to say he's not good, but he's a starter in this league. I think that's fair. And they have a bunch of linebackers. Like, I don't worry about the depth in this room either. Like, they've got that on lockdown.
Yeah. And then
go ahead.
I was going to say, look at the safety room. A lot of good safeties in this division. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, still getting it done. What is it, year 14 for him?
Something like that.
He's solid.
Honey Badger rules.
Yeah, Honey Badger rules. Still very, very solid in this offense. Jordan Howden, I want to like this guy, but what do you think about him?
He's Jordan Howden. I mean, I didn't notice him on tape at all. Like, I went through like 3 games. I didn't notice. Maybe he only played 50% of the snaps. Maybe that's why I didn't notice him on tape very much. But
I don't remember which game I saw.
There's a lot of green here, but I truly, I'm not going to sit here and lie to any viewers. I don't know much about Jordan Howden.
I forgot which game it was. I remember I watched a game last year with the Saints. I can't remember if it was prime time, if I had the Cowboys on one screen and the Saints on another screen. I don't remember why I was watching him, but he made like 4 plays in a row where I was like, oh, who is this guy? And then
his numbers here hash that out. His number, like, I need to, after this, I'm going to go turn on the tape and look for Jordan Howden, because I'm sitting here going, how did I not notice him with numbers like this?
I remember he was making plays, and I just thought to myself, I'm like, that's not a real person. This is Jordan Howden playing defensive back in the NFL. Sounds like a dude who should be working at like a law firm or your mechanic at the local
Jonathan Abrams driver.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just remember he made like 3 plays in a row, and I'm like, who is this guy? And then
I've got to go take a look at it now, because like I believe it, looking at these numbers, that he was probably out there making some plays and I just watched the wrong games.
Yeah. But no, pretty good safety room.
Yeah, pretty good secondary.
Yeah. Like, is Marshawn Lattimore still good?
Marshawn Lattimore's still really good when he's healthy. Like, he missed some time last year, but he's still a really good football player out there. Paulson Adebo has really looked like a good football player last year. Like, there's a lot to like with him. Alontae Taylor, he was up and down, but like, you're talking about your nickel corner there. There's reasons to think he'll be fine. And they added Kool-Aid McKinstry in the draft, who, I mean, he went through some surgery for his Jones fracture in March, but he's back on the field now. Like, he's ready to go for camp. So
yeah,
there's reasons to like this secondary, and the secondary and Chris Olave are what keep pulling me back into this team. But I don't know if that's enough.
Derek Carr can be good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking at this, 7.5 win total. It's the same win total that Vegas has Tampa Bay at. And they actually have better or worse odds.
This team went 9-8 last year.
Yes. They play good football. Dennis Allen is going to have them competitive. We're going to look up week 10 next year, and they're going to be 6-4.
I don't know.
But I don't know if that means they're good.
I mean, they got Clint Kubiak, who's going to make a difference in this offense. I feel like the offense will be more geared to Derek Carr.
Cedric Wilson's going to have double-digit touchdowns.
A.T. Perry's going to have double-digit touchdowns. Let's be real.
So they're going to have 2 receivers and double-digit touchdowns on top of Chris Olave?
A.T. Perry had 4 touchdowns on 10 catches last year.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to have double-digit touchdowns. Cedric Wilson's going to have double-digit touchdowns. Chris Olave is going to win Offensive Player of the Year.
No,
Electric offense.
I'm doing it. I'm taking the under 7.5 plus 106.
I think that's probably the play here.
I think this is a lame duck year for Dennis Allen. I think that something needs to change with this team. Something needs to go wrong that puts them on a new course. I feel like this O-line is going to be that. It's going to be what causes it to fall off the rails.
They were so bad for so long that new fans of the NFL just don't realize why this fan base is so content with what's going on. It's because they were just so abysmal.
I'm an old fan of the NFL. I barely remember that.
Yes, because Drew Brees was so good for so long. Mm-hmm. But they're just holding on to mediocrity now to where they're just so terrified of being bad again. But you can be bad again. Go be bad for a couple of years. Go get you a quarterback. Go reset your salary cap. Let some of these guys go and just build. Just rebuild. That's what you need. That's what you need, New Orleans. If you're fine with winning 7 to 10 games a year, knowing that you'll never sniff a Super Bowl, that's fine, I guess. I mean, that's been my entire life as a Cowboys fan. So, I mean, it's not the worst place to be, I guess. But at least in my scenario, it's us underperforming and not overperforming. At least I can say that. I don't know, man. It's just tough to see because it's just a lot of Band-Aids every time. Every time they lose somebody, the Derek Carr move was one of those things where it wasn't like when Kirk Cousins went to Minnesota, which I think a lot of people compared it to. That was like the last time we saw a big name quarterback change teams. I mean, it wasn't like that. It was, I don't know. I mean, the Raiders, I don't think the Raiders should have got rid of Derek Carr to begin with, but then to go to New Orleans was even more weird. Derek Carr's just weird. And his brother.
You want to get to the schedule?
Yeah. I just thought this weird team.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. They're a big part of what makes this division so hard. Yeah, because I don't know what the hell to do.
They might win the division. So
there's a world where everything goes right and they do, and there's a world where 2 things go wrong and they're awful. I don't know.
Yeah. So starting out, we both have the Panthers winning week 1. We both have the Cowboys winning week 2. I have Eagles, Falcons, Chiefs, Bucks.
I don't have them winning. This team starts 0-3 with week 3 on the road. I just don't I think you're right. They're going to fight veterans fighting for a win in week 3. I
didn't realize how low I was. So I don't have the Saints winning a game until Denver week 7. I have an 0-6 Saints team.
Full disclosure, we put these in the spreadsheet a month ago. So
yeah, God, and this was the last division we did, so all the wins and losses were already there before I even got to look at it. Really, good Lord. Okay, hold on here. Panther. I know I don't have the Panthers winning very many games. Eagles, Saints. Let me give them the Eagles game.
Okay. I literally, right before we put this up, I gave them the Eagles game. And I was thinking through, I was they're not going to start 0-3 under Dennis Allen with a veteran team.
But if they don't win that Eagles game, it's they're probably not beating the Falcons. They're probably not beating the Chiefs. And then you got the Buccaneers right after it on a short week after coming off Monday Night Football. And then you're coming off a short week, playing a division rival, going straight back to a short week to play your old coach that won you a Super Bowl. Like, oh, man. I don't know. And then we got the Chargers after that. Another big game. You have the Panthers sweeping the Saints.
I do.
You still doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Man,
Panthers going to be feisty.
No, we will talk about the Panthers. Yeah, I want to give them more wins, but I go down this roster. Raiders.
I thought about switching that.
Derek Carr beat the Raiders?
Ooh, Derek Carr revenge game. I don't think so.
I'm just worried about the Raiders quarterback situation. But late in the season, it's always tough. All right, I'm fine with where they're at. What do I have them at? 5 wins?
6-11. I've got them at 5-12.
I think that's about right.
Someone's got to lose games. Someone's going to lose games.
Yeah, everybody can't be 10-7.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, we could make this series where everybody has 7 through 9 wins, but where's the fun in that?
Yeah, and we'll get killed in the YouTube comments. This team's gonna win at least 11 games.
We get killed either way.
Let me tell you something, YouTube commenter. Everybody can't win 11 to 12 games. And I know we're talking about your team.
You know what we should do next year?
Everybody can't win 11 or 12 games.
Next year we should give floor, ceiling, and most likely.
I think we just give everybody 3 wins next year and really see the hate. Shout out Ron Swanson. Where he takes a picture of Big Ben and he's like, "Oh, look, a clock. We don't have that in America."